You've probably heard the term law of assumption before, especially if you've explored the teachings of Neville Goddard, but understanding it intellectually and actually living it are two entirely different things. The law of assumption is one of the most powerful, yet misunderstood, spiritual principles in existence. It states that if you assume a certain state of being, if you truly feel it as real in your imagination, then that state will become your reality. Neville taught this relentlessly throughout his life, and today we're going to break down exactly how this law actually works. If you're new to these ideas, I'd encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the deeper explorations of manifestation and consciousness we explore here. At its core, the law of assumption operates on a simple but profound principle. Your assumption about yourself, about your circumstances, about who you are and what you deserve, becomes the foundation of your reality. It's not about positive thinking alone. Positive thinking is just surface level. The law of assumption goes deeper. It's about feeling. It's about actually embodying a state before you see evidence of it in the physical world. Neville called this feeling the reality of your assumption. He would emphasize that the feeling is the secret. Let's talk about how this works practically. Imagine you're someone who struggles with self-worth. You've been told you're not good enough. You've failed in the past. Your assumption about yourself is that you're insufficient, that you don't deserve success. This assumption is living inside you, shaping every decision you make, every opportunity you pass up, every interaction you have. People can sense it. Opportunities pass you by. And from the outside, it looks like bad luck. But Neville would tell you it's not bad luck. It's the natural result of your assumption. Now, the law doesn't care whether your assumption is positive or negative. It works with whatever you assume to be true about yourself. If you assume you're unsuccessful, the law will work to make that true. If you assume you're worthy, capable, and destined for success, the law will work to make that true as well. The law is neutral. It's a law of nature, like gravity. Gravity doesn't decide whether to pull you down because you're a good person or a bad person. It just pulls. The law of assumption works the same way. So the first step in working with this law is becoming aware of your assumptions. What do you actually believe about yourself right now? Not what you wish you believed. Not what sounds good. What do you actually assume to be true? Are you someone who deserves love? Are you someone who naturally attracts opportunities? Are you someone who is healthy and vibrant? Most people have never really examined their assumptions. They're operating on autopilot, living out assumptions that were handed to them. Once you become aware of your assumptions, the next step is revision. This is crucial. Revision means consciously choosing a new assumption. But here's the important part. You can't just think your way into a new assumption. You have to feel your way into it. Neville taught a specific technique for this. He called it revision or reenactment. You mentally go back to a memory, any memory, and you replay it with a different ending. You change it in your imagination. You feel what it would feel like if it had gone differently. Why does this work? Because your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and an actual experience. Your body doesn't know the difference. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference. When you vividly imagine something with feeling, your subconscious records it as real. Over time, as you repeat this practice, your assumption shifts. You begin to genuinely believe the new version. You feel different. You carry yourself differently. And from this new state of being, your life begins to change. Let's look at a concrete example. Let's say you want to attract more abundance into your life. Your current assumption is that money is hard to come by, that you have to struggle and hustle constantly just to get by. This assumption is probably rooted in something real from your past. Maybe your family struggled financially. Maybe you've had financial setbacks. But Neville would say that your job now is to change your assumption about money, not to change the external circumstances first. The external changes follow the internal shift. So you would spend time in a quiet, relaxed state, maybe in meditation, and you would imagine yourself as someone who has abundance. You'd imagine handling money with ease. You'd imagine the feeling of financial security. You'd imagine making purchases without fear or hesitation. You'd feel gratitude for the abundance you already have. You'd imagine friends congratulating you on your success. The key is to feel these things, not just to think them. Feel the relief. Feel the security. Feel the joy. Feel the gratitude. Now here's where most people mess up. They do this exercise once or twice, and then they get impatient. They go back into their normal state of consciousness, back into the old assumption. And because the external world hasn't changed yet, they decide it doesn't work. But the law is still working. The law is always working. It's just that the external manifestation takes time. There's a lag between the internal shift and the external result. You have to hold your new assumption long enough for the outside world to catch up. Think of it like this. Your assumptions are like commands you're constantly sending to the universe. Or if you prefer a psychological explanation, your assumptions are like filters through which you perceive reality. When you assume you're unsuccessful, you literally don't see opportunities that unsuccessful people don't look for. You walk past doors that successful people would open. You have conversations where you hold yourself back. You don't apply for the job. You don't take the chance. The opportunity is there, but your assumption blinds you to it. When you shift your assumption to I am capable and opportunities flow to me, suddenly you start seeing things differently. You notice conversations. You take the chance. You apply for the job. You have the conversation you would have avoided before. You're literally seeing the same world, but your assumption has given you new eyes. And from this place of expanded perception, from this new state of being, opportunities actually do start flowing to you. It's not magic, it's mechanics. It's how the human mind works. Neville taught that the law of assumption works because you are a being of consciousness, living in an infinite universe of consciousness. Your consciousness is connected to all consciousness. Your assumptions ripple outward. They influence people. They attract circumstances that match your internal state. Or actually, more accurately, you perceive and move towards circumstances that match your internal state. The universe is already infinitely abundant. You're just changing your assumptions so that you're able to receive it. Here's something crucial that Neville emphasized. You must assume your desire is already true. Not that you're going to get it. Not that you're working toward it. But that you already have it. This is the difference between desire and assumption. Desire is lacking. Desire is future-focused. I desire something, which means I don't have it yet. But assumption is present. I assume I have it. I assume it's true right now. And from that present state, everything shifts. This is why visualization alone isn't quite enough. Visualization is a technique, but if you're visualizing your desire as something you don't have yet, you're reinforcing the assumption that you don't have it. You're actually working against yourself. The law of assumption requires that you feel yourself into the state of already being what you want to be and already having what you want to have. You have to actually believe it. You have to feel it in your gut. So how do you actually feel into this when part of you doesn't believe it yet? This is where persistence comes in. You keep assuming. You keep feeling. You keep revising your past. You keep going back to your quiet place and imagining your desired state with gratitude and faith. Over time, the gap between what you want to believe and what you actually believe gets smaller. Eventually, the new assumption becomes your genuine belief. And when that happens, when the assumption is truly embedded in your subconscious, the manifestation is inevitable. Neville also talked about the importance of living from the end. Living from the end means living as if your desire is already fulfilled, not in a fake way. In an authentic way. If you assume you're successful, you don't wait for success to treat yourself with respect. You treat yourself with respect now. If you assume you're worthy of love, you don't wait for someone to prove it to you. You love yourself now. You respect yourself now. This isn't arrogance. It's alignment. You're aligning your current actions and energy with the assumption you're holding. And when you live from this place of alignment, people respond differently to you. Your own behavior changes. You make different choices. You pursue different paths. All of these things combined create the outer circumstances that match your inner assumption. This is the law in action. This is how it works. Now, let's address something that often comes up. What about the times when you've assumed something and it didn't happen? What about the times when you felt like you believed something but the result didn't materialize? Neville would say that your real assumption, the one living in your subconscious, wasn't actually what you thought it was. Maybe consciously you decided to assume success, but subconsciously you were still assuming failure. Maybe you are holding on to limiting beliefs from your past. Maybe you are giving your attention to doubt rather than maintaining your new assumption. The law of assumption is unbreakable. It always works. If your assumption isn't manifesting, it means the assumption that's actually living in your subconscious is something different from what you think. The solution is to keep digging. Keep examining. Keep revising. Neville taught that you have the power to change your assumptions about anything. But it requires awareness, and it requires persistence. It requires that you actually care enough to do the internal work.